have a special tablecloth for meat and dairy, ideally. Okay, the custom is for a person to have a meat tablecloth and dairy tablecloth. But I just want to point out that if you don't have that, that's okay. And if you don't have the means to invest in different tablecloths, that's fine. Because you can always wash them in between. Now this is also important before Shavuot, by the way. A lot of people have like one meal dairy, then they have meat, then they have dairy, then they have meat. You know? That's what people do. People eat a lot of, because people want to have meat also during the festive meals in Shavuot, because it's a concept, the halacha to have meat, but then it's also halacha to have dairy. So the halachas we learn now are actually perfect timing. You guys are well prepared for Shavuot, because in fact that's one of the reasons they ate dairy, also to do with the laws of kashrus, because they were given a Torah at Mount Sinai, and they weren't able to kasher all their vessels because of Shabbos. You guys know about this? No, they were. This is one of the reasons. This is getting. Basically, meat and dairy is a concept that is actually, it's a great time. We are basically finishing this before Shavuot, I'm saying, because on Shavuot, a lot of people eat dairy things and a lot of people eat meat things. So it's important to understand your separations. You got to have 2 tablecloths. And even though we spoke out, you can have 1 tablecloth, you can wash it in between, but on Shavuot, you're not going to wash it, right? It's a little complicated. Specifically this year, you're going to have Shabbos afterwards. So let's say in my house, I may have a dairy meal, and then I still need another tablecloth for Yom Tov meal and for Shabbos meal. I can't use the same tablecloth. Unless you have a plastic tablecloth, one of those hard plastic ones, those reusable ones, you can clean it off. That you could do. So we spoke that out. Either a cloth one, you wash, and a plastic one, you can wipe down. So I'm saying is that as we're speaking about this, I would like to highlight that this is one of the reasons on Shavuos why we eat dairies, because until the Torah was given, there was no halacha that an animal had to be slaughtered. Okay, an animal had to be killed, not to be slaughtered. The only
shechting.
Yeah, shechting. The only commandment that was applicable is one of the 7 Noachide laws, that we are not allowed to
Animal
eat Eber
cruelty.
min achai.
Oh,
we're not allowed to
torn
eat
from an animal.
a limb that's torn from an animal that's alive. We're not allowed to eat that. And therefore, the requirement was that first you got to kill the animal, and after that's done, you can eat it. But once the Torah was given on Shabbos, and they were told that no, that's actually not kosher. You gotta actually slaughter your animals. So because of that, they weren't able to use their pots for anything anymore, because their pots were not kosher, and they couldn't kosher the pots on Shabbos. So it's a problem.
So what did they do?
They ate dairy. That's what we're saying. So that's one of the reasons why we eat dairy. There you go.
On Shabbos.
Yeah, that's one of the customs.
What are like the typical dairy things that's like the little Shavuos? Because I never.
Cheesecake.
Cheesecake.
Yes,
What about
delicious
hachapuri?
cheesecake
What about
with caramel topping and with blueberry topping. There you go.
What
You
about
go to get
hachapuri?
What?
Hachapuri?
I don't know what that is.
You know, I've never ate it. It's like a Jewish food. It's a Jewish food from Georgia, and they brought it to Israel. It's very popular here. Jewish. Yeah, many Jewish food people from Georgia brought it into Israel. Many restaurants.
Maybe there's also, he's saying it's a Georgian food.
Yeah.
He's saying the Jewish people that came here may have taken that.
Oh,
Is that
it's
what he's
very
saying?
good.
Trying to restore the communication here.
It's very good. You should try it, Rabbi.
Great. Okay. Wonderful. So in any case, so that is definitely one of the reasons we eat dairy. Now that we spoke a lot about that, so we spoke about a tablecloth. That's all clear. Salt shakers. We spoke out, and then we're going to speak now about food used for one type. Meaning, very often after a meal, especially a Shabbos meal. Wow, we're still full from Shabbos. You guys are well over Shabbos?
Yeah.
Well, it takes me an entire week to recover, and then we start again. All over again. This day. We're going to start a day earlier. I always have a problem on
Friday is
night.
Yom Tov.
Thursday night's Yom Tov.
Thursday night.
Thursday night's Yom Tov.
After
We have
Shiur
another
is Yom Tov.
Yeah. But like we always be careful not to do halacha just that even before Shiur, right?
Yes.
Even before sunset.
Yes.
So in any case, so very often, especially a Shabbos meal, we may have leftover challah. Okay? Ever happen to do leftover challah?
Yeah.
Leftover challah. So you may want to use that challah again for another meal. For example, I had, let's say for Sunnah Shlishis, I had some challah left. Okay? And I put it in a bag to try and retain its freshness. And then now, Sunday, I want to eat that challah for lunch with my cream cheese. Let's say I have for my shalashudas some cold meat. Okay, I do not normally have cold meat for my shalashudas, but let's say I did. So the bread was on the table during a meaty meal. Can I now use that for a dairy meal or not?
Yeah, he didn't touch it with a knife.
but it was challah, meaning like you were the guy, Dylan, you were the guy, you were sitting there, you said, Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, and you cut down the whole challah, gave everyone a piece, and after that, it's like a huge loaf. Have you seen those big loaves? And you cut the whole thing, and it's some left on the table.
Don't they call it like a kit kat or something?
A what?
Loaf? They call like a big loaf a kit kat?
No, I'm not sure. I've never heard of that. Not sure. The rabbis have these big challahs, but not sure. In any case, so challah that has been used for a meaty meal should not be used for a dairy meal. Okay, that's important. It should not be used. Okay, and the opposite obviously true as well. We don't want a challah that being used for a dairy meal to be used for a meat meal. Now, this is going to be super applicable over Yom Tov, over Shavuos. You guys are going to be eating in yeshiva, but for those who are obviously at home, for me at home, I'm going to have so much challah crisscrossing between different meals. My night meal, Shavuos Eve, is generally dairy, and my next meal on Shavuos in the morning is going to be meaty. So if I would want to keep some challah from the Eve meal for the next day, I cannot do that, basically. The only way you can do that is if you have an uncut piece of loaf. Let me explain. For example, if I had guests on the eve of Shavuos, and I had so many challahs, and at one point I was like, I'm not sure if all of this challah is going to be used for the guests. I went in the kitchen, and I cut half of the challah, and I left half the challah in the corner, because generally, like, just stays a little fresher if you don't cut the whole thing up. And I indeed didn't use the rest. So now I have that whole block of challah that is not being cut, so that I can now cut up for my other meal. Okay?
What if you use two together for Moitzi lechem min haaretz and only use one and the other one away?
That's fine, you never used it.
And but it was on a fleischer kit.
It's fine, you took it off.
Okay.
That's fine. The point being is, there's a concern over here that many people touch bread and handle it during a meal, causing the bread to potentially have food residue on them. Okay? Meaning, if you have challah in a challah basket or something like that, and it's all cut up, and you're taking different pieces, people are eating meat, people are eating challah, people are, it's just all happening, and people are touching the challah out of it. So, it's possible that there is some sort of meat residue on that bread. So when you afterwards, consequently, if you afterwards use that challah for a dairy meal, we are concerned that that may actually have some sort of mixture of meat and dairy, which we want to try and avoid at all costs. So this is something that we can actually relate to. And as I mentioned, the above mentioned is true only for a cut challah, but for a whole loaf, or if there was an uncut section of the challah, that may be used for a dairy meal, because we don't have the concern that people touch it, because it's uncut. So this, again, it is a boundary, but it's a boundary with some logic to it. It's like, hey, people touch stuff that's going on Shabbos table. Have you ever been at busy, hectic Shabbos tables? So that's what I'm saying. People are touching it, but if there's an uncut piece of loaf, so we don't have to worry about that. You can definitely use that for a dairy meal, and that's not a problem, okay? Great. What about other foods that were left from a meaty meal? Like, say, you had some salad left over. You had salad from your Shabbos afternoon meal, a nice cabbage salad or a roasted vegetable salad for your Shabbos afternoon meal. Isn't that great? Schmack, huh? Yeah, so you had some roasted vegetables, there's a lot left over, you made a huge salad. So you put it in the fridge after the meal. You want to take it out Sunday night for supper, you want to have it with your lasagna. Nice, extra fresh little bit lasagna or a quiche, or you need to go with a little salad next to it, you know what I mean? So you have that for your salad next to it, but salad was served on a meaty meal. The salad itself is totally apart. Can you do that or not? The halacha is that we don't want them to use them for the opposite meal, because serving spoons may have come in contact. We can understand this. You have serving spoons in your salad, okay? What does the guy sitting next to you do? Serving spoons from the salad on his plate. He puts them nicely on his plate. The serving spoons are touching his plate, whatever's on his plate. It is chomp on his plate and whatnot. And he puts the serving spoons right back into the salad. Okay, great. That's what's happening. You put it in the fridge. The next night, Sunday night, you're sitting with your lasagna using those same serving spoons, even if you would change serving spoons, but it's all being mushed up, all mixed up in a salad bowl. So that's what we're saying, is that in such a scenario, you're just better off not using any food that has been prepared for a dairy meal, for a meat meal, and obviously it's also true, don't use something that's been used for a meat meal into a dairy meal. Now, of course, if you snack on the salad, it's not going to make you meaty, as we spoke out, right? It's important. Even though a challah like that, or a salad or a leftover that is part, but it has been on a meaty meal, we're saying don't eat it together with a dairy meal, but eating that will not make you meaty, requiring you to wait 5.5 hours, or 6 hours, or 3 hours, or 1 hour, whatever your custom is. Okay? Does that make sense, guys? Great. That is all halachas that you gotta know for separation. Okay, we spoke a lot about separation between meat and dairy. There are actually a few more things that we need to discuss. Number one, koshering utensils from meat to dairy. That's what we're going to be speaking about. And we're going to be speaking about oven use. An oven. How do we say oven in German? Oven. 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 In Dutch we say an oven. There we go.
Yeah.
Oven. Oven. Ja, maar het lekker in de oven doen. In any case, and then we're going to be speaking about how to wash dishes, okay? All you guys are familiar with dishwashers probably, but you have washed dishes in your life.
Yeah. I'm a clean guy. I clean the kitchen. They cook, I clean.
Oh, that's great.
That's
So you also take part in eating food, or?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's like so uni. Everyone wants to learn to cook, so I was like, you guys cook, I'll clean. We'll have the groceries easy.
Okay.
So I was always a fun after like roommate. That's good.
Great. Okay, in any case, so these are the last few things we got to be speaking about, and as I'm joking, we will definitely not finish that. The first thing I want to speak about is a fascinating halacha. We know that koshering a utensil, we spoke about it in previous classes, we spoke about how to kosher. I'm not sure if you were there for that class, but we spoke about how to kosher.
Yeah.
You were here?
Also a while ago.
Was a while ago, exactly. You were here, you were not here? Yes, in the seminary when I teach them, we actually go into the kitchen and I do koshering there so everyone can see how to do it. It's great. We kosher with a huge pot, hot water and everything else, and the gloves and the white coat. So it's great. So everyone can see how we kosher. In any case, so we know we can kosher, but there's an interesting halacha that according to the Ashkenazi custom, there is a prohibition to kosher utensils from meat to dairy. This is due to the concern that one may do this frequently and then may inevitably forget once to kosher it.
You can't toilet it though?
Oh, 1 second, sabbatical. What is toiling? Toiling is to immerse in a mikveh.
Yes.
That's something else. Koshering and toiling, let me clarify, tzadik are two different things. Toiling is when you get a new utensil, when it's only new or it's never been toiled before, then you dunk it in a mikveh. You put it in a mikveh. Something that has never been, but something that has became non-kosher food has been cooked in it, or meat had cooked in meat and dairy, whatever.
Can't toilet.
Toiling is not going to help it. Toiling is not going to help that. You need to have a real heat koshering process to remove non-kosher particles from the
Do you use
utensils.
the stone on the stick?
In certain cases you may do that, but the standard procedure is just with hot water.
That was fun. I did that during Pesach, pouring the boiling water over the hot stone.
Wow, that's cool. Okay, so but the standard procedure is with hot water. Now, interesting, we're saying is that one should not kosher one utensil to dairy and meat. Let's say you have this good serving spoon. This is your serving spoon. You must have it. When you have a big meal, you must have your serving spoon. But it's meaty. So Dylan wants to kosher it to dairy. And then afterwards he wants to kosher it to meat again. Then he wants to kosher it to dairy and into meat and into dairy and into meat and into dairy. So we don't want that, because if you in your mind are going to be used to the fact like, you're going to have a little picture, like 3 things with a serving spoon in your mind, okay? You may think that you can use it for dairy and meats, and you may inadvertently forget to kosher it in the middle. So we therefore do not want people to say, hey, this I can kosher and then I use it for meat and then I use it for dairy. Although, halachically, obviously, in theory, if you kosher it and use it, it's fine. Because koshering does remove any other food particles out of the utensils. But here we are worried about not people gonna use it without having koshered it properly. That's our concern over here. Does that make sense? There are exceptions to the rule. Okay. Exception number 1. One who is koshering one is koshering a utensil for Passover may then change the status of the dishes. So, for example, if you
Because you're doing it once a year.
yes,
That's
but not
the
just
reason.
that. Well, let's first say what we're saying, and we'll work out the reason. If you have a spoon, your serving spoon, and you want to make a kosher for Pesach, you can. You have to kosher it. Great. So because you made a kosher for Pesach, so therefore we understand that logically speaking, you're not going to make that mistake in your mind that you can be using it for meat and dairy. So once you're doing it for that purpose, you may also change the status of it from dairy to meat. That's fine. Okay, I just see that we're actually hitting 1:45, and the Rosh Hashanah is going to continue his series today in the base medrash. I don't want you guys to be late, so I'm looking forward to continuing tomorrow. But tomorrow, Amir Hashem will be actually actively going to halachos of Shavuos, because there's so much to speak about Shavuos. We're going to speak about all the minhagim, all the customs, what the prayer is going to look like on Shavuos, special prayers on Shavuos. With that, hopefully you guys will be very well prepared.